often say that our generation complains too much, that we get too offended, that no one can joke about anything anymore. We're often called Generation Me, Me, Me. Well, I'm here to say that, yeah, we do complain a lot about injustice. We do get very offended when we see someone hurt. And we really do not like racist, sexist, xenophobic jokes. And we are really concerned about our future. Well, we are the ones who will be here to deal with the mess. I was born in 1993, and at that point, computers were the utmost technology. And it was something that only a few people would have access here in Brazil. At my first school years, my researches were all made through encyclopedias, the physical ones. I remember the first video I saw on YouTube. And I remember the day I discovered something really innovative, Google Translator. I remember the world without internet, but I'm also connected to it pretty much every minute of my day-to-day. Social media is part of my relationships. My brain was born in one society, but has developed in a completely different one. I was taught at school that we are destroying our planet. I was taught about solidarity, empathy, union, every day of my childhood. Today, I can connect to any friend in Bangladesh, Morocco, Sweden, El Salvador at any moment. I was born in 1993, 5 years after the new Brazilian Constitution was approved. This constitution would be the first one to state that men and women have the same civil and political rights in Brazil. It was 1988. My generation was born in a transitional world. The end of the Cold War, the Berlin Wall had fallen, the end of the most military dictatorships in Latin America. We were born in a new world. We saw it's possible to change. Why would we just accept this new version without trying to make it better? I'm here to tell you a little about my story. I'm here to tell you about how I think power is changing. And I'm here to tell you that power is no longer what we used to believe it was. Many young people here might be thinking, okay, so how on earth I'm changing this crazy system we're in? I'm here to tell you how from my perspective. And to make my point, I'll tell you all of this in 5 lessons that I have learned as being a gender activist for some years. In 2015, I came back from an exchange program in the UK. I was 22. And things in Brazil were a little bit different from when they were when I traveled away. There was something new in the air. I felt that people were more mobilized than before, more critical than before. At that time, the members of the Congress were trying to pass a bill that would prohibit abortion, even in cases of rape in Brazil. I was not yet connected to any women's rights movements at that point, but this project felt so cruel for those abused women that I decided to join the marches against those maneuvers that would affect women's rights in Brazil. That was the first moment that I truly understood the concepts of feminism, and I would call myself a feminist. Many ideas around the term were and are still very misinterpreted here in Brazil. That moment, I discovered a passion and a purpose: address women's rights. And that is my first lesson. You have to find your own passion and your own purpose. But I never thought fighting gender inequality would become a career somehow. In 2016, I had to present my undergrad final project at university, and I wanted to connect urban planning with gender inequality. But I didn't know exactly how. So I realized that the question I wanted to answer was just outside my door. I would never walk to university, even the distance being a 10-minute walking distance. because I was totally scared of the streets. And I realized this feeling was shared by my female friends. The boys would walk alone, even at night. At first, many people discouraged me. This project is a master project, not an undergrad one. You won't find enough information. You have too much trouble researching that. Okay, so the research is fine, but how will you design something based on that? And I basically did not know the answer of any of those questions. I just found strength in my purpose. I really wanted to do that. So I started my research, and I could not really find any data or information related to gender and urban insecurity in Brazil. I thought, maybe they were right. It was too much trouble indeed. But I'm a little stubborn, and I would never admit losing the fight. So I decided to collect the data I needed in 1 month. I designed the methodology, created a survey, and was expecting around 30 answers. That's what I needed to prove my point at that level of academic titles. But in 15 days, I had 560 answers to the survey. People were sharing it, getting interested in the problem. So, second lesson, be stubborn with the things you really believe in. I wanted to prove that we were unequal even on how we use our public spaces. To make it short, some of the conclusions of the research were: 1, women are more afraid than men of using our cities. 2, men's fears were related to have something stolen from them, while women's fears are more physical, related to a panic of being harassed or raped while walking the streets. 3, when in well-designed urban spaces, women and men feel equally secure. But while in poorly designed urban spaces, women would feel around 40% more insecure than men. And 4, some urban features would trigger off more fear in women than they do in men, like walls, fences, narrow sidewalks, empty land, poorly maintained vegetation. So, in conclusion, safer cities for women are safer cities for all. Due to this research, I got selected as one of the 16 young leaders for the European Development Days 2018 program by the European Union to represent the topic Women in Urban Spaces. I was the only Brazilian and the only Latin American woman at the program. At the event, all of us were invited to take part in relevant panels related to our topics of activism, along with important personalities of relevant institutions around the world. Along with me at the panel I took part was Ms. Maimouna Sharif, Executive Director of the UN Habitat, a role model for me. She is also an urban planner, and she's the woman who runs the most important UN agency related to urban settlements. At that event, I also met 2 queens and 1 princess, something that does not happen every day, right? So, third lesson, we cannot predict the path that life will lead us and how surprising this path can be. So try not to be anxious about your path. I know it's hard, but try to. When I came back to Brazil, I decided I would have to take even more action on my purpose. Many ideas came up to my head, but I knew, based on the conversations I had with different women from different contexts around the world, that our biggest problem now was that we are experiencing huge difficulties of connection. And what do I mean by that? In Latin America and in Brazil, we still do not have a strong culture of debate or advocacy. I realized that there were many people working or that would like to work on solving women's urban insecurity. However, these people were having trouble to connect or they do not know each other at all. I realized that to create a bigger impact, we would have to act as a reference, a center for connection, a network. And that was when In Cities was born. We are a network for inclusive cities that aims to connect and support, connect, and articulate initiatives in favor of more inclusive cities for women, and in consequence for all. We act on raising awareness for gender and urban insecurity, supporting and creating projects, supporting researchers, and acting on advocacy and public policies related to urban inclusion. In Cities was founded officially in March this year, 8 months ago. Today, we are more than 130 volunteers around 36 cities in Brazil. We reached more than 1,500 people on site with projects and more than 20,000 people with online campaigns. And we have even more goals to reach and obstacles to overcome. We will become a reference for safer and more inclusive cities in Latin America by 2021. So, fourth lesson. Every goal designed with good planning and purpose is possible. Your age does not matter. What matters is what you want to achieve, your connections, and the people you have with you. However, the fifth and biggest lesson I have learned through those recent years is that we will never change things in a long-term basis if we are underrepresented. What makes the biggest difference in terms of equality and right for the city is bringing diversity to the table. We usually discuss nowadays the concepts of smart cities, of innovation. Innovation is to make things differently than they were before. If we are failing at connecting, let's create new solutions for connection. But a true smart city is not about technology. It's not about those computers. It is about people. We will only be innovative when we make sure that everyone has a seat at the table, that everyone is secure to live through our cities, that our cities are not obstacles, that we bring different people to the table. I'm here to tell other generations that the future is young. You do not have to wait to your 50s to become a leader anymore. And I'm here to tell you that this young future is female. And why is that? Because we are the ones who are not allowed to be there. We are the ones who are not allowed to get there. We're the ones who are not allowed to make the call before. This is not about technology. This is not about computers. It is about ideas, about solutions, about making it fresh, about making it different. New solutions will only be brought to the table by those who are never there before. Those are the ones who will be innovative, because they are the ones who face our biggest problems. If we keep everything the same, we will keep having the same issues. So, young people here, do what we do best. Complain about today to create new tomorrows. Some say we have to take our seats at the table. I believe that now we have the power to change where the table is, its color, and its face. Thank you. Uh-huh.